Good afternoon. Here I am again. When things get rolling, they really get rolling. We've been sort of chronicling events in the last few days. In my own inquiry, I have times when it's a long plateau. I have times when it's really, really steep. The only thing I don't have is any downhill, but the plateau is the biggest respite. And sometimes I hit a plateau and I visualize it in my steps as a pausing place, a step where I can take a rest, where it's time to reflect and kind of digest. And then there's times when, boy, I'm just one step after another. And it's out of my control. I don't dictate this in any way whatsoever. But I talked before about compassion came just before letting go of judgment. Expressing compassion, taking a look at Bhakti Yoga. Bhakti Yoga is the path of devotion, of a love, a universal love that's seeking nothing other than expressing itself. And a lot of people find enlightenment. They say this might be the easiest. The yogis say this might be the easiest path, the devotional path. You don't have to put any specific time. It's just a matter of devoting all your energy. I mean, in a discipline, just let it out. Sing the praises, follow a guru, worship a guru, revere a guru or a teacher. Chanting, selfless service, seva, that they have in most of the ashrams, seva, service with no rewards other than knowing that you're doing something useful, that you're sharing and showing your love. So I really needed to embrace compassion because it was easy. Jnana Yoga, the path that chose me, it's easy to overlook the importance of compassion, the importance of universal love. Even in my case, got so wrapped up into the revelations, the day-by-day experience, the immersion into the intellectual, the mental plane. And one of the consequences is that when I did have an abiding, awakening experience, I tended to see myself alone. At first, I tended to see it as some kind of accomplishment, which, to my embarrassment, it's nothing of the sort. How could it accomplish anything that's the natural state for all of us? You simply woke up. You simply remembered the forgotten. But really had to work on opening my heart because for one reason or another, I tended to close my heart. If you don't let anybody in, nobody can hurt you. And it started this way. This was 40, 50 years ago. It started this way. But then it just becomes a defensive habit. Didn't put much thinking into closing this, not opening it until the time that I saw that not only was necessary, but not only necessarily, but unavoidable. It had to, all physical, mental, emotional, physical. Anyway, all of them had, it's a crescendo. All of them had to be fully expressed. And I said, as I've said many times, no matter how far you've gone, there's always work to do. There's always further. It's never ending. Spiritual progress is a continuum from right now to all the nows ad infinitum, as far as our mind can grasp, and then again it's farther. I remember thinking that if the universe was finite and you got to the end, you got up to the end, and what happens if you drill through or cut through or something? Isn't there going to be, is there an end? There's no end. Is there a beginning? Probably not.
You need to unlock your iPad first.
I don't want to unlock my iPad. Well, Siri just irritates me sometimes, sorry. I don't know why she just starts talking. I should disable Siri. I never use her. She just interrupted me. And she's giving me a command. I have to do this. You must do this. And as soon as I hear it, it's funny how the hackles on my on my back just stood up. I have to do that. It's a spontaneous, immediate. It's a very real reaction, and it's fun that I've captured it, because it'll be fun to go back and look at my facial expression and how quick I was to respond. But never have done well with anyone telling me what to do. Interesting. So I was talking about compassion. That's good. And opening up. And at a certain point, I started talking about seeing the merging with the light, seeing that we're all part of the same light, and looking around and seeing myself in everyone and everything. And the last few lessons, last few sharings, two back, when the mind dissolves into awareness and unfolding the cosmic consciousness. So this is the inner to outward. And I kind of looked at that as, once you're enveloped, once you see that there's only that everything is all there is. And everything is the cosmic awareness, the cosmic conscious. I feel the most strongly about the consciousness, the cosmic consciousness, when I hear the song. I've called it before the song of the universe, the cosmic song. And I actually hear a very lovely song. And if I filter that out and only concentrate onto the song, I'm finding now that bliss, which was a state that would grace me occasionally, that was always gifted to me, short-lived, I'm finding now that by really intently focusing on the song of the universe, that to the exclusion of everything else, that A state of bliss is inevitable. So I'm starting to learn that some techniques, instead of waiting for bouts of bliss, there's a technique that I can practice that will take me there. But I'm still a little leery, still a little wary of bliss, because I see bliss as the way out. It's when you're enraptured, enveloped in bliss, you no longer need to have a body. And it's when the time is right, this will be the way to leave your body in a state of bliss. And you leave your body in a state of bliss as well. But I'm sure as I engage, as I continue on my spiritual path, I'm sure that there's a way that you can enter this state of bliss without the unconscious or the subconscious image of just leaving completely. Something can anchor. So I'm looking for that anchor before I fool around with bliss too much. But it's nice to know that just dawned on me that as I spoke these words to you, actually it just dawned on me that heretofore something, a state that I thought could only be gifted, randomly experiencing bliss, just had an insight that indeed there just may be a way to consciously, instead of subconsciously or unconsciously, enter a state of bliss. Instead of waiting to be gifted, that there's a way that I can make it more of my daily existence, if not daily, weekly, monthly. I don't know, how much bliss do you need? I personally would take all I can get. But anyway, all of this, seeing myself in others, all of this was this way. And I've always been interested in politics. My discipline in university for all my degrees was American Studies, the culture, mass culture, popular culture, which was a kind of a baby of history department and the English department in American Studies for the last 30, 40, 50 years has become more and more legitimate discipline. But anyway, I found myself attracted because I like some history and I like some English. When I say English department, that's literature. Anyway, my minor was always political science. I'm fascinated by political science, and I came here, and as an expat, not only did I get a nice, interesting perspective on American politics, but I've been able to, by paying attention, I've been able to get a fairly good grasp on the local politics here in Taiwan. And of course, I lean one way, the two parties, there's the blue and the green, much as we have the red and the blue in America, the blue and the green. I lean one way, but as a guest, I always felt like I'm a guest in this country, even I've been here for 21 years. I'm a guest still, and I never give voice to my thoughts. First of all, because the ugly American is so obnoxious that America doesn't hesitate to give his 2 cents, unsolicited or not, to anyone at any time. With some hubris too, some sense of superiority, like big brother telling little brother what to do. So I didn't like that, so I stayed away from being transparent, sharing my perspectives, and choosing instead to encourage others to closely examine, not just follow their parents, not just follow the tradition, but to scrutinize, to careful, critical thinking skills, to evaluate what works for them, what resonates, what makes sense. But anyway, this is a long-winded way of saying that oneness came from seeing me in everything and everybody else. And this interest in political science, I tell you, it's been really tough to have Donald Trump. And I'd like to say he's not my president. Us people from Hawaii, we have our own little sovereignty, so we don't always closely identify. Particularly, somehow I identified with Obama, the idea that I had to support the first black man to become a U.S. president. Honestly, I didn't think I'd see that in my life, but I welcomed it. And then the backlash that squeaked Donald Trump into office. And to make a long story short, everything about that man is reprehensible. It's the antithesis of everything that I've come to see as a human being, especially, particularly a leader. But I abhor him. And I'm not comfortable, honestly, I'm not comfortable with that because he too is a brother. Just like everyone else is my brother or sister. He too is expression of all that there is. So it dawned on me this morning that I needed to. Today's talk is called "The Light in You is the Light in Me." See? I neglected. I went this way. But what about looking in others' eyes and recognizing that the light in their eyes is the light in me? You see? Turn it around. And eventually, I always will get to this point where I tend to follow one viewpoint, one perspective, until it dawns on me that I need to turn it around. And just yesterday, when I was watching something about the political situation, what's going on in the U.S., and just shook my head in disbelief that we could be in this state. It seems to me how far we have fallen. But I thought, here's a test. Here's my opportunity to see that to separate the wheat from the chaff, the bullshit from the real. Now I can't think of a larger challenge than to recognize me, recognize my light, is in Him. And today, turn it around. His light is in me. And I felt the burden lifted when I was able to swallow this. It went down. It didn't go down easily. But if one is true, its opposite, as I've come to learn in going from duality to non-duality. If one is correct, then the other, the opposite, also has to be correct. So as I was saying, even now, I can still feel some of the burden leaving my body. I'm really looking ahead to the 2020 election. I'm really not sure what's in store for America. But what's going to happen will happen, irregardless of any vested interest that I might have. Who's to say? Who's to judge? Who's to criticize? Who's to dread? Who's to hope? All of these are equal wastes of time. So now, before this morning, just hearing His voice would turn my skin. And now, it's time to practice what I preach. To see, to know that His light is in me, just as my light is in Him. When I see His eyes, I see my eyes. All of our lives, all of our eyes. All of our lives, all of our lives, all of our eyes are reflections of each other. So, I know about karma. I know how that karma works. And I'm just learning to say, it's not my job. Leave it to karma. Remember I love that old Doris Day song. What will be, will be. Indeed. Words that are so appropriate for me to live right now. What will be, will be. In the meantime, I'll learn to let it go. Let go of the judgment. Let go of the expectations. Who am I to say what's presidential behavior or not? I've come to look at conservatism as the antithesis of progressive, of forward, of open. And the natural course of things, as we get older, it's natural that we become conservative because we have vested interests. We want to protect what we have. We've worked hard for it, most of us, and we want to protect it. But somehow, I always saw this process as giving in to ageism. It's kind of a consequence of age that we'll get wrinkled, we'll get gray, we'll get bald. But the mind should still be vibrant. And what I'm struggling with is that a vibrant mind, equally or more so than mine, can be a conservative mind. And Trump has come to represent, besides everything that's bad in mankind, period, he's come to represent everything that's the consequences of being conservative. But that's total judgment, isn't it, on my part? I can choose to be progressive, to be more open, to be liberal, and until I die. And my example is that brilliant linguist and educator, Noam Chomsky. He's in his 80s somewhere, and he continues to support progressive, liberal thinking, and he does it so well. So in accepting Trump as a brother, is accepting us as part and parcel of the same infinite consciousness. As taking a look at Maya again. Politics is probably the epitome of confusion. The epitome, this structure, this social structure about power and money and control. I've studied the history of politics, social, political construct aimed at controlling people, basically. Some sense of order, because everything tends to chaos. I think chaos and perfect order exist. Complete chaos and divine order. And if these two things can coexist and be equally true, both are a 100% equal statement on the condition of the world. Total chaos and total perfected order. So, liberal, conservative, progressive, regressive, hearkening back. Let's make America great again. Yeah. The irony was never lost on me, because I'm a lifelong student on American history, and I've yet to see, I don't know what they're pointing to, I've yet to see when America was great previously. An imperfect state, as everything in the Maya illusory realms. There can't be anything else, could they? So this is my challenge. I'm going to see, I think the first steps will be just to kind of just cut it out. Maybe I've had too much CNN. So maybe it's time to turn the news off and work on this, my newest project. Seeing and accepting and understanding on a totally cellular level that the light in you is the light on me. Isn't it funny that it was easier for me to deal with? It seemed a given that the light in me was the light in you. But turning on its head doesn't allow for any leftover vestiges that I might still be grappling with of separation and division. So I should thank you, Donald. I should thank you, President Trump, for providing me with this challenge and this opportunity to stretch and to grow in my understanding and acceptance that you too are a brother. I have to say that just saying that feels better. I can let go of any concern for the future because it's futile, isn't it, after all? What will be, will be. No matter how, no matter what, no matter why. My thoughts and considerations lead me. It's an effort, it's a lesson, it's an effort in futility, isn't it, to change anything. It's hard enough. Our basic work, the only thing that is changeable is ourselves. The only thing that we can hope even to change is it ourselves. We can change our reactions. We can change our thoughts. We can change our beliefs. So we need to accept what we can't change and work on what's within our realms of possibility for change. Myself, yourself, ourselves. So as I look out, I see your light in my eyes.